not all would require the presence of the cabinet members. Yun lang munang ano natin. But later on, as we rumble on maybe tomorrow or day after, after I shall have talked to the businessmen, then we can decide whether or not we can still modify the modified lockdown that we have imposed. Sige, I would like to turn over the floor to the Secretary of Health.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members of the Cabinet and the IATF. Mr. President, good evening, Mr. Senator, the Chair on the Committee on Health. Allow me, Mr. President, to read the Resolution 46A that will highlight the different geographic areas under the recommended community quarantine status, Mr. President. Babasahin ko na lang po, Mr. President. Whereas on March 16, 2020, to prevent the sharp rise of COVID-19 cases in the country, the President placed the entirety of Luzon under enhanced community quarantine until April 14, 2020. Whereas on March 30, 2020, to develop a science-based approach in determining the risk-based classification of areas in the country, the Interagency Task Force convened a sub-technical working group tasked to develop the LGU Epidemic Response Framework and to define parameters in assessing recent developments in the Philippine COVID-19 situation. Whereas on April 3, 2020, the IATF finalized the parameters for deciding on the lifting or extension of the enhanced community quarantine in Luzon, which include trends on the COVID-19 epidemiological curve, the health capacity of the country, the social factors, the economic factors, as well as the security factors. Whereas on April 30, 2020, the Office of the Executive Secretary issued Executive Order Number 112 imposing an enhanced community quarantine in high-risk geographic areas of the Philippines and a general community quarantine in the rest of the country from May 1 to May 15, 2020, adopting the omnibus guidelines on the implementation thereof and for other purposes. Whereas on May 27, 2020, the IATF released an updated risk classification in all provinces, highly urbanized cities, and independent component cities in the country, placing localities under different classifications of community quarantine with the goal of balancing economic activity and public health. Whereas as of June 14, there is a total of 25,930 confirmed cases in the Philippines. Now, therefore, be it resolved, as it is hereby resolved, that the IATF approves the following. The recommendations of the IATF Screening and Validation Committee, as amended, are approved beginning 16th of June 2020. The community quarantine classification of provinces, highly urbanized cities, and independent component cities based on epidemic risk level, economic, social, and security considerations, and the appeals and commitment of local government units shall be adopted. Therefore, the following provinces, highly urbanized cities, and independent component cities shall be placed under modified general community quarantine or MGCQ until June 30, 2020. For Luzon, Cordillera Administrative Region or CAR, which includes Abra, Apayao, Benguet, Ifugao, Kalinga, Mountain Province, and Baguio City. For Region 1, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union, Pangasinan, and Dagupan City. Batanes, Region 3, Nueva Ecija, Pampanga, Zambales, Angeles City, Lucena City. Region 4B, Marinduque, Oriental Mindoro, Romblon, Palawan, Puerto Princesa City. And Region 5, Albay, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, Masbate, Sorsogon, Legazpi City, and Naga City. For Visayas, Region 6, Aklan, Antique, Capiz, Guimaras, Iloilo, Negros Occidental, Iloilo City, Bacolod City, And Region 8, Iliran, Eastern Samar, Leyte, Northern Samar, Western Samar, Southern Leyte, Ormoc City, and Tacloban. Now, Region Zamboanga del Norte, Zamboanga del Sur, Zamboanga, Sibugay, Isabela City. For Region 10, we have Bukidnon, Camiguin, Lanao del Norte, Misamis Occidental, Misamis Oriental, Cagayan de Oro City. Region 11, we have Davao de Oro, Davao del Norte, del Sur, Davao Occidental, and Davao Oriental. Region 12, we have North Cotabato, Sarangani, Darat, Jato City. Region Raga, Agusan del Norte, Agusan del Sur, Island, Surigao del Norte, Surigao del Sur, Butuan City, and the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, which includes Basilan, Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, Cotabato City. The following highly urbanized cities, independent component cities shall be placed under general quarantine or GCQ until June 30, 2020. We have Region 2, Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino, and Santiago City. Region 3, Bataan, Bulacan, Tarlac, Olongapo City. Region 4A, we have Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, Quezon, and Mindoro. For Visayas, we have Region 7, All, Cebu, Negros Oriental, Siquijor, Mandaue City, Lapu-Lapu City. For Mindanao, we have Zamboanga City, Davao City. All cities of the National Capital Region, NCR, and the Municipality of Pateros shall be placed under GCQ until 30 June 2020. The NCR Regional Task Force RTF is hereby directed to monitor health system capacity and utilization rates across health facilities and ensure strict compliance to surveillance, isolation, treatment, and minimum health system standards. Due to the increasing widespread community transmission in majority of barangays in the city, as well as the consistent case doubling time of less than 7 days and significant increase in critical care utilization against critical care capacity, Cebu City shall be placed under enhanced community quarantine. This is the recommendation, Mr. President, for Cebu City to be escalated back to ECQ. For the same reasons, Talisay City, a component city under the province of Cebu, shall be placed under modified enhanced community quarantine or MECQ until June 30, 2020. All provinces, highly urbanized cities, and independent component cities are directed to observe the strict enforcement of the following measures. Minimum public health standards, especially uniform implementation in high-risk areas, such as healthcare settings, wet markets, supermarkets, government and workplaces, among others. Localized community quarantine in priority critical areas with community transmission with concurrence of the RIATF. Immediate facility-based isolation of all returning citizens, suspect, and probable cases. Scaling up of local health system capacity, especially for community isolation and critical care, including dedicated mechanical ventilators, ICU, isolation and ward beds for COVID-19 cases. And last but not least, submission of complete and accurate data through COVID Kaya and DOH Data Collect. The regional COVID special teams, in cooperation with the regional task force, are directed to A. Oversee and assist surveillance monitoring and contact tracing of suspect and probable cases with full mobilization of composite teams in areas with continuous transmission. Develop a ground operations plan to urgently execute control and public health measures in the next 2 weeks. Sir, Mr. President, this IATF has been approved during the 46th Interagency Task Force meeting today, as reflected in the minutes of the meeting held this 15th of June 2020 via video conference. So these are signed by the chair of IATF and co-chair, Secretary Carlo Alexi B. Nograles. Thank you, Mr. President.
We will talk about education, but the most pressing uh, problem or the most question the question most asked is why is it that there is only a small drop in the tuition fees even with this new learning setup? You can answer that later and you can have your own order of talking.
Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening, Senator Bong. And good evening to my colleagues in the cabinet. Mr. President, we in DepEd are truly appreciative of this opportunity to brief you on the latest developments in education, because education is everyone's business, from the parents to the business people and of course our learners and our teachers. I would like to take up three items with you in my presentation. One is we'd like to share with you the latest enrollment data. Mr. President, we started enrollment enrollment period June 1 to 30 online. And as of in our presentation, we had a brief battle of quotes from you with media. Some parts of media would say the president says that you are like this, you are like that, and then I answer back with an exact quote of what you said during our last briefing with you last May 28. But thankfully that issue has now been resolved, because media is now busy with other concerns, especially court cases. Sagutan, parang religious debate, Mr. President, na sagutan about the same source. Sabi ni President ganun, tapos kami naman, sabi ni President ganyan. But we took your exact words. Anyway, insofar as enrollment, Mr. President, are concerned, enrollment numbers, we started enrollment June 1, and right now, supposedly the 15th day of the month, but it's actually mga 12 days lang ito, including the holidays, 11 days. It's already 10,654,795 learners, 10.6 million enrolling online with their parents, because we are not allowing any physical enrollment. The highest, of course, is ang highest is region 4A, and then you have region 3 and region 4. At the same time, also, those who are most vocal and about their concerns on the opening of school, Mr. President, are of course the LGUs, because education takes place in their territory. So now LGU support has been coming in, and every day we get messages of support from local government units, because we have been aggressively informing them of what our learning continuity program is about. Many assume, Mr. President, pag sabi mong opening ng school year, therefore it is face-to-face. And we have been saying that since May 8, pero it takes time for the idea to sink in, because usually pag opening ng school, we always think face-to-face or in-person enrollment. So we have an increasing number of local government support already. And also with the approval, the consent of the ILG Secretary, we met with 10 associations or leagues of local government in the Philippines, Liga ng Barangay, League of Vice Governors, board members, etc. And we met with them for 5 hours, Mr. President, and answered their concerns about what this enrollment is all about. Mr. President, we also have, since May, we have April, we already started a roadmap because we had to select or identify a date, Mr. President, because we cannot keep people hanging. We have to have a target, we have to have a goal in view of all these developments. So as early as several months ago, we already consulted. We consulted nearly 800,000 respondents as to what is the appropriate date and what they would prefer. And August consistently came out because it's the closest to what the law says. So right now, mayroon na kaming roadmap, Mr. President, which we started May and June, remote enrollment, etc. Last time I was with you, Mr. President, I briefed you on the what a blended enrollment, blended curriculum is all about. First, it can be through a ICT platform. By the way, questions were raised as to why did we not use the UNICEF platform? Because UNICEF developed platform for other countries. The reason, Mr. President, is we already have a platform, and when we had a talk with UNICEF, sabi nila, we have a platform, and there's no need for them to do it for us. And they are also giving us assistance, especially in the operation of this platform. Pero hindi na nila pinilit yung kanilang platform, which they're doing for Ukraine and other countries. Now, sinabi na natin, Mr. President, kung hindi pwede sa online, kung pwede sa cellphone. There are 179 million cell phones, more humans than cell phones in the country. And I see a lot of cabinet members, hindi ko lang kaya, hindi ko sila ma-match, attending IATF meetings from their smartphones. And so mas marami yung cellphones kaysa tao. So kung hindi pwede yung platform, pwede sa cellphone. The other, which is attracting a lot of attention from other countries, is the use of television. Right now, there are many programs already on television because the law requires that 15% of airtime for television should be devoted for children. Sisingilin natin ito. So, all these possibilities, pero talagang kung wala talaga, Mr. President, walang internet, walang cellphone, walang TV, walang radio, yun sinasabi nating IBM that it's better manual. So we are producing also learning modules, but the children should not be going out to get the learning modules. This is where, Mr. President, kaya we are going to work very closely with local government units kasi yung mga barangay sa kanilang kiosk, sa kanilang where their offices are, doon i-deposit ng learning modules. Pipick upin ng parents, maybe kasi usually we allow one member of the family to go out, pick upin ng parents, and then in the afternoon, kung anong homework nila, ang teachers naman ang mag-pick up, i-correct. So, it will be a relay of materials. Kung talagang hanggang manual lang ang makayanan ng isang local government or isang school. So, ito, Mr. President, what is new? Everybody talks new normal. But what we are suggesting, Mr. President, is not really new. Because it has been there since the 1800s, like the radio. What is new is that we are placing the emphasis that we are placing on these alternative technologies because we agree with you that we should not be allowing our children to go to school or our teachers to go to school at this time until it is absolutely safe for them. But they can continue learning, Mr. President. So, yun na ang mga ibang mga ginagawa namin, yung pag-upskill ng teachers as well as the students themselves. So the next and the last, of course, is the financing part. This is where would really be seeking your support in matters where we need to we need equipment, or we have to we are negotiating with the two telcos, Mr. President, na ililibre nila yung paggamit ng kanilang facilities. I just talked with one of them, and at the regional level, the regional directors are also negotiating with the local radio stations na so that we can reduce the costs. So we hope, and what we are asking, Mr. President, is ang appeal namin to allow us to continue our preparations based on the roadmap, kasi target namin August 24, no face-to-face on August 24 opening, to allow us to continue our preparations, kasi nakabuelo na kami, Mr. President. If suddenly we pull to a stop, then baka madapa kami. Kasi we are moving very, very fast and I'm checking with the regional directors every other day. And we will be providing you with readiness updates. And lastly, Mr. President, I would like to end my brief, kasi nandito naman ang details which your staff can study in detail. Ang sabi ni John Michael Greer, the future is under no obligation to wait patiently while we get ready. The future will not wait, and we don't want our children to wait and be left behind. Thank you, Mr. President, for all the years of support and stinting and questioning. Full support. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, ma'am. It was an excellent report. Actually, you just reiterated the things that well, you made it clear this time. That is what we have always meant when we said all those things in the past. I'd like to call on General Galvez to do his report.
Sir, we go around the Philippines, and we were able to visit Cebu, and also we look around on the different hospitals. Based on the report of Secretary Vince Dizon, he had a meeting this afternoon. We are all okay in terms of hospital occupancy. We are 30% in Metro Manila. But we have, I would like to report to the President na meron po tayong mga new cases sa Region 8. Meron po tayong 66 na new cases. It brought about by the LSIs, yung mga locally stranded individuals. Pagdating po doon, ay tinest po sila. Dahil po yung Region 8, meron na po tayong 2 testing center doon. Tinest po sila na PCR. At meron po silang nakuha na 66. Ganon din po ang nangyayari po sa Lanao, dahil din po sa LSIs, ay nagkaroon po sila ng new cases na 30.